Well, hi and welcome to the next show, the show 10. Can you believe we're already on to show 10? Quite amazing. Now, we've had a few technical issues, so this show I'm having to record, it's actually, I don't know actually if we're actually going out live as we are. It's saying we are, but apparently we're not having so very good success without pushing that out. But anyway, we're going to carry on with the show. I've got quite a few things to go over today. Quite a few emails come in. You remember Khan, when we went through Khan's interview. Now, Khan can't come on today because he's not available, but he's going to come on to the next show. Well, hopefully he is. Khan says in a few short words he's got some joyous news. Things are completely turned around for Khan. Anyway, there's a real lot of stuff here to go through. Very, very exciting stuff. And yeah, how things are coming together is absolutely marvellous. Okay, now what we're going to hear from now is an interview that I recorded just before Christmas actually with Stephen, and how he was really pretty much down the dumps. He was 20 losing trades in a row. Things were just not going well at all, and that's turned around completely. And you'll hear on the interview 7 out of 8 trades now, 90 pips on the last trade he did. Things have really come around, and it's a very interesting interview because it looks, or rather it exposes where we're actually going. And what you'll see is I actually warned Stephen in here about some danger that he was heading for. So do watch this right through the end, and then we'll come back. And we may even have time for a second interview with Goran, and we'll go on from there. But anyway, so watch this next video, next interview, and I'll catch up with you very soon.
I just wanted to try and talk. I'm actually doing much better since last call we did when we discussed that 20 losing trades in a row that I did.
Yes, the 20 trades, yeah.
Yeah. Things are going really well, actually. I've had about 7 out of 8 weeks in positive pips.
Okay.
So I got 91 last week, so I'm pleased with that. So
hang on a second. Let's have a little recap here. So you go from 20 losing trades, crap, want to hang yourself, everything else, to like 7 to 7 winning weeks out of 8, 91 pips last week. That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. Pleased, really pleased with the way it's going. I feel like I'm gradually getting there little by little, but I still feel there's a few things that I don't quite. I think if I could just get a little more clarity on it, might be the final piece of the jigsaw, Okay. That I'm hoping for. I'm definitely feeling more positive about understanding. I'm not getting so caught up in the manipulation anymore and just chasing the market as it flies off in one way. I feel I'm better at staying up on the hill a little bit more now, trying to get the overall feel of what actually they're up to, as opposed to what the form of the chart is taking, as you say.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely getting the hang of it a little bit more, I feel. But I just wanted to talk more about touch more on the beliefs. I know you did one with Rob, who obviously I got into this through. Rob Grimble quite some time ago on the beliefs. I understand like the scenario. I know what you talk about when you talk about the paper boats and that, and obviously the 95% of the masses using patterns and candles and getting led into the wrong, getting led up the garden path, if you like. And our job is to obviously so it's really trying to understand on the pat chart with distinguishing the two groups between the blues and the yellows, if you like.
Okay.
Because both have, in my email I put to you, both seem to have the ability to turn the market. Look on the forum, we talk with Nikki a lot, obviously, and we talk about waning beliefs. So, the market was always going to turn there because of waning beliefs, but then we look for high volume areas, which also turn the market. So I just wanted to try and feel as though, get an idea really of, say, when do we follow beliefs, if you like, or should we never be looking to, should we always be looking to trade? Like for me, the paper boat scenario would be, we've got a nice piece of accumulation, runs away maybe close to 45 degrees, lots of blue bars, the volume's increasing all the time. To me, that's the market makers leading the masses into a false sense of security, if you like, ready for the turn and the market to come the other way. So we see that volume, we look to trade in the opposite direction. At what point, so really, to me, that means, well, we should always be looking, we never follow beliefs, we always look to trade against them. So this is where I just like to get a little bit of clarity on that sort of thing. Or does it basically, do we have to be like more, what phase are we in? It changes at each phase, obviously, because maybe when you hit profit release and the market's had the volume, it's turned, they've dragged the masses into maybe buying it when they were collecting sells. The markets then come down, but then it maybe pulls it in volume on the way down because it's profitable, because that's then now where people are allowed to make money and they're selling. The market makers are releasing those sells that they've collected, so then the volumes will increase on the way down. Or should we get more natural flow on the way down or on the way up, depending on whatever way profit releases? Just trying to get the idea of, when do you sort of like try to look at the patch chart and follow the beliefs, or you're always looking for just a turn all the time,
Okay, right. Is my just one other thing on sound? I'm hearing my own voice come back. Are your headphones plugged in, or is there some noise coming out of your computer?
Yeah. No, I'm hearing you really clearly.
Okay.
And the headphones are plugged back. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's okay.
My picture's not very good. I can see you well. I don't know if it's.
No, I can see you fine.
Porting.
I can see you fine, but for some reason I'm getting some feedback coming through my earpiece. But it's okay. As long as I hear my own voice. It's just a bit discerting sometimes when you're hearing your own voice, especially if it's delayed like a millisecond. It's like you've got this permanent echo. It's gone now.
Yeah.
It's gone now. I'm okay. It's fine. Okay, that's fine. Right. Okay. Right. Listen. In answer to your question, I'm going to ask you some things first, because you are now in a dangerous place. Okay.
Right. Okay.
You're now in a dangerous place. So I'm going to ask you some questions. You've gone 8 weeks, 7 weeks. You've gone through 7 weeks. You've made 91 pips last week. I want you just to talk me through. Talk to me about these a couple of trades. Talk to me about how did you make the last. What did you think? The last trades you made this week. You're 91 pips. You're going making these trades. Describe to me. Yeah. Describe to me why you took them.
Well, the ones I think in my email I put to you, actually sometimes I can put the chart up, or not. I might have loaded my broker chart up, right. Or no, sorry, loaded Pat up, looked at Pat. And I can't load the broker platform up fast enough because I'm just like, I know what to do here. I absolutely know what to do. I see the accumulate.
Oh dear. Excuse me for laughing. Excuse me for laughing. I've got to stop you here. Right. Now, this is why I said you're in a dangerous place. Okay? Because what you've done, Stephen, is you have gone from reading pat charts, understanding beliefs, thinking about how it all worked, and you've progressed right through. Did you watch the last show with Gillian's video and Tony?
No, I'm up to Khan's one, because I've got the 2 little kids and I can't seem to keep up with it, so I'm still to watch show.
Okay.
So that's the plan.
Right. Well, what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to jump forward. I wouldn't normally do this, but I want you to jump forward, and I want you to watch 8 and 9. Okay. Show 8 and 9, because they are. It's going to be a couple of hours there, but get stuck into those, because what you've done, Stephen, is I tell you what. If Tony and Gillian were listening to us now and watching this interview, they'd be like pounding their head. They'd be saying, "What is going on? He doesn't realise what he's done." And you don't realise what you've done. So when you listen to shows 8 and 9, you will intrinsically understand everything that we have done, Stephen. Every part, right from day one, has been trying to lead you to a point, to a specific point. Okay, and that point is what we call the sock moment, which is a sense of knowing. Now, you just said to me there are days when you cannot open the broker's platform fast enough. Why? Because now, when you just glance at it, did you do analysis? Did you ask where the beliefs were going? Did you try and work out the... No. None of this. None of this happened. You simply had a sock moment. That's it. You just looked about it. That's it. You had a sense of knowing. Right. Your job, Stephen, now, from now on, is everything you just asked me that you wanted to know, forget it as fast as you possibly can. You don't want to know about beliefs. You don't want to know about bars. You don't want to know about any of this stuff. All you need to do now is to develop your sense of knowing. You need to develop it to the point where there's just intrinsic trust with it. That's all you're going to do. So that you want to become a trader that doesn't sit there for 12 and 14 hours a day. Your screen is on. You walk past the screen. You look at it. You know if you're going to do something. You know if you're not. You know if there's something interesting. You know if there isn't. You might say, that looks interesting, I'll come back in an hour. You walk past it again. All you're doing is you're waiting for that sense of knowing that says, get me into that dealing platform immediately. So now you see what's happened is that all the brain training, all the journal work, all that stuff has driven you to a point where the mind has said, screw this, I've had enough of this, I don't want to know about the patterns, I don't want to know about this, now we're going to trade, or now we're not. So all that information, it's like, it literally does come down to crossing the road. You stand on the side of the road, all that past data and all the times about it allow you to know when you can cross the road safely without getting hit by a car. It's a sense of knowing. Sure. It's past experience. So all the training that we've done up to this point is just getting you the ability, or giving you the ability to cross the road, the sense of knowing the same. Now what the brain does at this point is, and this is why we're having this conversation today, when you get the sense of knowing and suddenly you start having 7 weeks out of 8, you're making your 90 odd pips, you're doing this, it's all going well, the brain says, oh hang on a minute, I'm not too sure about this, I don't really understand what I'm doing here. Oh, how did I do that? How did that come about? Oh, I better find out more about that. I better ask Martin about those beliefs on that, and I better ask him about when they change, because you know, when does that change, and like, when do we follow beliefs, and what about if they're yellow and blue, and when is a test, what a test? So what happens is you start ripping apart piece by piece the sense of knowing. You basically start breaking it down. Now I let you pour your heart out when you started, and I let you carry on talking, because I knew that what you said to me in the first, I knew where you were within 20 seconds of this call. I knew where you were. And then when you started saying about what you think you knew it, I knew exactly what you were doing. You were then ripping apart the sense of knowing. Now, you don't know you're doing this, but the reason you're doing it is because you haven't accepted it as the way to trade. You haven't fully accepted it as a deep understanding of what it is. It's like you sitting down with someone, Stephen, and them saying, oh, Jesus, you're doing really well. Show me what you do. You can't, because you cannot show them sense of knowing, because that's something that you possess. Now, what you would do at that point, you'd say, oh, and they'd say to you, well, what's that bar there? And you say, okay, well, what that means is that's like a stop take up there, and that's then the market goes down. And they'd say, oh, okay, so all I have to do is look for a stop take, and then the market goes down. And you'd say, well, not quite like that, but, and he'd say, well, what do you mean? And so the mystery doesn't unravel, the mystery becomes a more entangled mass. The more that you physically try and explain all the different components that make up the sock moment, which is the sense of knowing. What you would be better off doing with this person is saying, go away, get your journal, do your charts, do all the stuff and everything else, and tell me about what you feel. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm not going to talk to you about any of that.
No, I think I understand. I know what I do understand. I know what you're saying, and I guess I am trying to pull it apart and still trying to think, well, how can I improve more? How can I improve more? I spoke to Nikki last week on an email, placed a trade, a winning trade. It was only for 30 odd pips, but you know, you don't need many more than that.
Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on a second. Let's stop you again there. It's only a 30 pip trade. Oh yeah. Stephen, traders will kill for 30 pip trades, okay? It's what they want.
I mean, if you're trading $1,000 pips and you get into that stage, 30 grand, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's a lot of money.
And 3 times 30 is 90. You know, three trades a week. You know, it's just this is what we do. This is what this is about.
I mean, I just need to probably be a little bit more patient, like what Nikki was saying, waiting for the retrace. I'm perhaps a little bit eager at times because if you feel as though you get that strong feeling about, I know what to do here. You know, like I've seen the accumulation of manipulations happen. I really feel as though this is a nice piece of strong manipulation. It's well worth a sell or a buy or whatever. And you get the nice turn on the jump bar, and I sometimes go on the jump bar because your fear of it coming down 45 pips because you think, well, you know it might turn again at the 45 stage. So, I mean, I'm not using stop losses at the moment. I don't put them in. I don't trade the news, but all I do is I click on the broker's platform to see if there's any news events coming up where you might get that massive big spike, if you like, to be aware of that and be around. But I've had this little thing about me saying I'm not going to put stop losses in anymore because I kind of feel as though I like to manage the trade personally.
Right.
And I kind of feel as though if I've got a stop loss in there, it's like they know now where it is. And I'm almost giving them my little secret.
Stephen,
you know,
Stephen, I want to stop you there because what you've just said is something very powerful. And I touched on this early. I touched on it early in the training. Now, I don't know if you remember when I talked to you about stop losses, and I said how traders will put a stop loss in, and because of that stop loss. Now, I do advocate stop losses. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't ever use stop losses, but what I'm saying is that when a trader puts a stop in, and you've discovered this for yourself, whether I say you picked up on this, what I said before, I don't know, but clearly you understand the power of this. You said you do not use a stop loss because you manage your trade. So what you're doing is you are managing the whole package. You're managing the in, but you're also looking about where you might want to get out. You've got this whole live package going on. Now, what I would say to you is that what you might want to do, and again, I don't want you to do something that you're not comfortable with, but you might want to put a stop loss in, initial stop loss, 100 pips away. Okay? It's 100 pips away. Now, I'll give you an example of this, and it's an extreme example, I know, but I was on a trading course September 11, 9/11, when the planes flew into the towers. Yeah. I was on a trading course in Spain, in a room, live markets, everything was going, okay? Now, we had no news on, because I've never traded news, didn't know what was happened. All of a sudden, there was a ride up on the market, and the market went up, and I closed out, and we brought it long, we was long in the market went up, exited in my limit order, I took 30 pips out of the market. And they were all like, wow, that's fantastic. I said, no, that's just what we do, that's up on there, boom. And then the market went bip, bip, and then it went bang, as you know. It went down. And it dropped hundreds of pips. And it lifted a little bit, and it dropped bang, and it dropped again. And it went down and down and down. And they were saying, wow, why aren't we on this? I said, hang on a minute, no, we had a plan here. This is what we do, and I knew what was going to happen here. I don't know anything about this. I don't know what is going on here. So I'm not going to trade this. And so we sat there, and it went all the way through. I came out at the end of the course, drove home, coming up the street, and I was on a motorbike. Now I was in Spain. I was just driving up the street on the motorbike, and I looked up, and my wife was out the window, and she said, "How did you get on the course?" I said, "Oh, great. It's fine." I said, "Made some money, and everybody's happy. Great." She said, "But did you see?" I said, "Did I see what?" She said, "It's like World War III's broke out." She said. I said, "Oh, that'll be why the market went down then." And that was my experience of that day of 9/11. But isn't it interesting that the market ran up just prior to that occurring? Yeah. And that was the lift up, was where I made the money as the lift came up, and closed the trade off, and great, and that's where it was. But had I have been, timing had been off, and of course my stop loss had have been not in, and I was dealing over the phone there at that point, I probably would not have got out of that market. So I read a good term in a book once, an airbag stop. So you put a stop that is so far away that it's never going to be, you're never going to let it run to that, but it's like this emergency thing off there. But great, Stephen, because what you've done is you've picked up on that. You're managing the whole process. That will
because I kind of feel as though if they had a level where they were intending to come up to, say I've sold the market and I've placed a stop, say 20 pips above, and they were always going to come up, say 17 pips, for instance, because there was a level there they were wanted to get to collect their final order. If mine's in there and there's a few other people's in there, I just kind of feel as though they'll maybe know that they're there, and they'll just come and snip mine, because so many times when I was placing stop losses, it just come in, took it by a pip, 2 pips, and then off it went, and I've lost 20 pips, and I might get to get back in, but now I'm 20 pips down before I start.
Exactly.
So now what I do, now I manage the trade, and I think to myself, sometimes, all right, if I've got in a bit early, and I think I'm fear of missing out, and you do then get the retrace, and I end up 12, 13 pips behind, but I'm keeping an eye on it and thinking, okay, this is a level I expect it to come up back to, because it was a possible retrace level. It might have been to the level of the new high volume for the day, or like the hairbrush thing. I'm beginning to understand a little bit more about what you spoke to me about on the 20 losing trades. There's an interesting level there where you can maybe see, look back, scroll out, zoom out of the charts, try and find these levels of support and resistance. It doesn't have to necessarily be a high volume previous high, well, it probably is a previous high volume level from a long time ago. It doesn't necessarily have to be one of the last 3 day recent ones, perhaps, but just looking for those sort of levels where you expect a market may come back to, you know, before it then turns away from it again. So I'm kind of like trying to look at the bigger picture and say, okay, that's okay. I don't mind being minus 13 pips. I'm not going to close this out because I expect this to still turn back in my direction. If it then starts getting to minus 20, I think when it's now past that level, perhaps I've got this story wrong. I'll get out of this. But like for instance, last night I placed a trade on the euro. I only placed the one trade. I lost 8 pips. I sold it, but I came out at 8 pips, which is fine because the way I look at it is if I can manage all my trades and my losing trades are minus 8 pips, if I lose 6 losing trades, if I lose 56 pips in 6 losing trades in a week, but I win 6 trades, I know I'm in front. For the week. I might not have a pitch, but I'm guaranteed to be in front. If I place 12 trades in a week and my 6 win 6, lose 6, and I lose 8 pips per losing trade, I know I'm going to be in front. Just the
and that's what you've done. So you've taken over the whole managing process. You've taken over the whole thing, and that's good. Now, one of the things I think it's in number 9 show. Listen to how James talks about how he looks at the market, looks at the chart, and then when he reverse engineers, he's got this lovely thing where he reverse engineers. So he looks at the market and he says, okay, looking at this from, if I was the masses, what would the masses be thinking now? What would the masses being how are the masses being manipulated? He reverse engineers it. He then watches he watches it play out as they are being manipulated. And then he knows exactly what to do. So he's reversed engineered the process to give him the entry. It was a beautiful way of doing it. And this is how I said to you when this course started out. And probably you will realise now the course has not gone in really in the direction you anticipated it would be. You know, it's been a lot of different, you know, I've got you to do most of the work. You're doing all the work, aren't you? You see, you're doing all the work. But that's how it has to be. And when you listen to James and Gillian and now they're doing on there and stuff, you start to think about, and I've mentioned these two because they're on the video, the last show we did, which was Gillian made a video of it and Tony was interviewed, and just watch it anyway. It's a great video to go and watch. But you'll see how he's used that process, and what you might want to do is take something from that, and when you're looking back at your levels and that sort of stuff, you might want to take something to there. Again, I don't want to influence you too much, and so I don't want to say you've got to be doing this, this, and this. Because I think when people first come on the course, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for me to say, okay, right, you watch for that bar, look for that bar, look for that bar, and do that. And suddenly that doesn't happen. And but then they start to get into it and they realise actually what we need. This is a very individual course. There's 20 odd people on this course, but it's 20 individuals.
Yeah, like I said, the amount of feeling that's involved, I think, in this game is unbelievable. I never really, you can't. When I was losing 20 losing trades in a row, I must admit, I doubted this was actually possible. I had my moments when I was like, well, this can't be right. I feel as I'm doing what I've watched the videos, I've watched the things, I've been on the forum, I'm learning from Rob and the likes of Gillian and Peter and Tony and Khan and lots of others and I keep asking questions and I'm watching for stock taking and this, but I didn't get it. I clearly didn't get it. I was still very much in the learning process, and Ben as well. He's been really helpful. And and now I feel as though I've just something I suppose has happened. That I think the trend lines as well. What you've explained with that, I think that helps me know when there's a sideways movement going on for the day, which I could never pick before. I mean, for me, it's I think where to place those trend lines, and then when it breaks out of both of them, for instance, if you've got your trend lines, you've got your one going up from your high volume turn down, you follow it down, and it doesn't follow it down, but it neither goes up, and it just sort of like breaks away. For me, I'm like, that's it. I'm out for the day.
That's it. I'm out for the day. That is a sense of knowing. You see, you've arrived at that sense of knowing, the sock moment. So the fact that we go back and talk about this bar here and this bar here and this trend line here and this trend line here, that's the mechanics. That's only what leads you to
Yeah.
a sense of knowing. So, where you run
knowing.
into danger is if you get caught up on the mechanics. If you think about, you know, that's when you get caught up. That's the danger area. You now look at that. Yes, you do look at that. That's fine. But you know your sense of knowing is, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Forget what it's doing. It actually says, I don't want to trade. It's not right.
Yeah.
So you walk away.
Yeah. Yeah, like last night, there'd have been a time when I'd have just kept hoping, it kept pushing, it kept like, looking like it may possibly come down, I switched off and went to bed in the end. I came out for minus, so I haven't looked at that today. I don't know the result of what happened for yesterday. But yeah, it was just sort of like another time I would have just kept on saying, well, it looks like it's going to, it looks like it's, you know, but it went sideways for 2.5 hours, you know, and I'm at, you know, I never really ever got in the money, never out of the money seriously thought I'll close it. There would have been a time when I just hoped for that, and then I'd have had my stop loss in. More than likely would have probably come up, stopped me out for 25 pips or something. Instead I managed to trade, lost minus 8 pips, not worried about that in the slightest.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'll get that back this weekend some, so you know.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
I mean, that really is good. So my advice now is sock it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Big letters,
Keep
big
doing what I'm
letters
doing.
on the screen. Big letters on the screen, on the top. Sock. S-O-K, sense of knowing. And when you have the sense of knowing, that's what you do. Your sense of knowing to get in, your sense of knowing to get out, your sense of knowing about where the stops are going to be. And just to finish up on that, James's sense of knowing, if his sense of knowing is knowing how the masses are being manipulated, does he need any other indicator?
No, I mean, if you can pick that and you know, because like you say, we talk about the 95% and the paper boat scenarios and all that sort of stuff. If we know when that manipulation is actually really taking place, well, that, like I say, puts in a strong position, doesn't it? We just know to get in the other direction, don't we?
That's right. And this is, you know,
I manage to trade accordingly. Like, you know?
That's right. And this is how we take this massively complex subject, or this perceived massively complex subject of trading, and we reduce it down to this little tiny thing. It's just sense of knowing that you build to and you understand, and this is where it all comes down. And it does make me smile, it does make me laugh, because it's like when we start off, everybody thinks, wow, it's this massive thing we're going to have to learn about and all this, and it's really not. It's just not that difficult once you start looking at it from that perspective.
It is and it isn't, isn't it? Because you are right. It is like Nicky's always said right from day one, keep it simple. Keep it, you guys say, keep it simple. And you kind of think it's got to be more to it than this. And I remember you saying in one of your videos, saying you did a student video saying, like, you know, somebody asked you a question like, well, what is that all you do then? You look for the strength or the weakness, look for the increase in volume and trade off high volume turns. You said with that, yes, that's it. That's what I do. There's nothing more to it than that. Yeah. You know, and you kind of think a little bit more. All right, you do have to have different feeling and know what you're looking for when you glance over it. But at the start, you kind of feel as though you need to learn. You do need to learn a lot, but I think you got to go through the 20 losing trades in a row or scenarios. You've got to get your time in, haven't you? No one can teach you this, like you say. No. You can teach us a certain amount as you have done with your videos and in the forum, and which is great help. But at the end of the day, you've got to put the hours in, haven't you? You've got to see it happening. You've got to be losing. You've got to be losing. You've got to understand why you're losing, and you've got to get to that point where you've got to get to that point. Yeah, I mean, you've got to reach that point where the mind says, "Screw this! I've had enough. This is how it works." And your brain has got to go through that process, and it gives up. It surrenders on it. It just push. I can't do with this. That's when the sense of knowing comes out. That's when you know when to cross the road, and that's the point on there. Yeah. Let me just. Sorry, I've just got a thing come through. That's all right. That's okay. Got to start doing some exercises. I've got some real shoulder problems, and I got to 5 times a day. I got to do all this crap with exercises and all that stuff. That's what happens for 20 years. 20 years, okay, staring at computer screens with your head down. Then you get to a point where you can't take your head back. You know, I can't put my head back anymore. And so I've got a few issues with that. But nothing we can't get sorted. Right. Okay. So so we're done then, really, for now. Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, the only other one I was going to briefly chat to you about was the journal. But I mean, I mean, I'm doing all my entries in the journal. I think I mentioned it to you briefly in the email. I know I'm pretty much doing it right. I think I used to put in the journal. I used to think it was putting in why you took the trade, i.e., what pat tools you used. So did you, was it strength or weakness? You used the 4 hour, the 60 minute, the 15 minute chart. It was a high volume turn. You got to retrace. You sold the market. Now I don't bother doing any of that. I'm doing my win lose column, and I'm just for me it's just. But I don't get any other feeling than I'm either super confident, and I'm just like I've got to sell this, or I get some butterflies. I've
Okay.
still yet to look back. I haven't looked back through it yet, Martin, to be fair, because I don't know. I know Tony mentioned this on one of the previous ones of when do we sort of like extract that. At the moment, I'm just leaving it. I'm just writing it in every day. I'm not putting much more in than that, though. I'm just literally saying, like, I don't know if that's enough. I'm not really putting loads and loads of stuff in. It's just literally like, I felt some butterflies. I'm putting the trigger.
I lied to you.
Not
I lied to
comfortable.
you.
Huh?
I lied to you. I lied to
What?
everybody.
Did you?
I told you all lies. Yes, I told you all lies because I had to get you to do a certain thing and I had to get you to go down a certain path. So I told you all lies. Okay. White. It's what they call a white lie, isn't it? A white lie is a good lie, isn't it? There was no black lies. It was just white lies. So I told you the white lie, and so what's happened in your journal now? And I actually brought this up on show 9. I confessed on show 9 the lies I told you. Okay. And so that which was directly relative to the journal and that sort of stuff and where we were going, but I had to lie to you to get you to go along a certain path. You've transitioned on that path exactly the same as Tony did. That's why I confessed on show 9 to Tony.
Okay.
And so I'm not going to even talk to you about that. You go and listen to show 9.
So not.
And you'll understand that what Tony transitioned in his journal.
Yeah.
You transitioned in your journal. You've both got to the sock moment at roughly around about the same time. So there's a great pattern there. And if ever there is a pattern there, there's a pattern there that the others need to look at and follow that pattern through for their own self, because they've got to make that own journey to the sock moment. So go watch number 9 and
Number 9.
and smile and have a laugh as you're watching to that point where I confess.
All right then. In which case that's me summed up.
Okay, well, it went on a bit long, but not a bit long really, but it was quite a long interview to get to where we wanted to get to. But sometimes it has to be like that for a trader to actually discover something quite important for themselves. Now, something I'm going to go over in later shows, but I'll just touch on now. You remember when Stephen talked about the stop loss, where he doesn't use a stop loss, and he felt about he was managing the complete trade. This is such an important concept. Now, the reason for this is because what traders will do is they will decide, okay, let's suppose they're going to buy the market long. We're going to buy the market here. We're anticipating the market to go up to here, and so we'll put a stop loss down about here, about 25 pips. Now, what will happen, or however many pips that is, but what will happen is there's a mental issue here, and what happens is that it's sort of absolved me from responsibility. And I don't mean that in a negative way, although it does have a negative connotations, but by the act of putting in that stop loss in there, it is saying, okay, well, this is what I want to happen, but if it doesn't happen, this is where it'll go to. And what traders will do, will see a market start to move against them, 8 pips, 9 pips, 10 pips, and they'll sit there and wait for that market to come all the way down to that 25 or 30 pip stop, because that stop is there. They've disengaged themselves from hitting that stop. Now, the crazy thing is, of course, that while that's going on, and the traders watching this, they will often be in a state where I know it's going to hit my stop. I can see it, but I know it's going to come down. Yeah, I can see how that's going to come down. But they live in hope that it won't. And then the market flicks up a little bit and they get a bit of relief. And the market comes down a bit, they get a bit drawn down again. So they have this constantly up and down emotive feeling as the market moves away from the stop and close to the stop. And sometimes it goes on for an hour or so, and eventually you get stopped out. And you say to yourself, I knew it was going to do that. Well, of course you did. You did know it was going to do it, but you had absolved yourself from the market. You'd removed yourself from the complete trade, if you like. So So the act of not using a stop or using a very wide stop is it keeps you engaged in the trade. And like Stephen said, he was looking at the market. The market started to move against him, and he just had a sense of knowing it was wrong. So he took off on his 8 pips loss. Took the loss and moved on. In this case, he just went to bed. He just had enough of it. Now, this is what I said to you earlier on about taking responsibility for the whole trade, and this is exactly what Stephen had done. He'd engaged himself in. He'd got the sense of knowing when to get in, but he'd also got the sense of knowing when to get out. Very important. If he just had the sense of knowing to get in, and then just used the stop loss, the manual stop loss, if you like, this 25 pips or 30 pips, this arbitrary amount, or below a low point, or whatever mechanism he'd used, if he's using those, he's sort of disconnected. He's not waiting for that sense of knowing on when to get out, because he may have that wrong. The sense of knowing might be perfectly right at this time. This is the time to get in. But then within half an hour, things change. And you know they've changed, and if you've got the sense of knowing about that, then you can do something about it. You can come out that trade. And of course, like he said, you lose 8 pips, you take 8 pips. It's very easy to make that up. And you remember early on in this in this training course, I said you will never make any money in this business, any real money, until you learn how to lose. And what I mean by that is learning how to lose in a controlled manner. That's learning how to lose. You learn how to control your losses by managing that trade, by managing those losses, by still using the same techniques as you would get into a market as to get out of a market, as opposed to be an arbitrary stop that you might place. And another thing is, just going on to that, what Stephen said, again, these are things that we're going to talk about in later shows, but I just mentioned these at the time now because it's just pertinent to do so. You remember he said that he puts Pat on, and he can't get the dealing platform on fast enough to take the trade. And there was no analysis involved in that. Of course, there isn't, because he sees it. And of course, the analysis, what's really happened is all the training that we've done, all the journal work we've done, all the videos we've done, all this work that we've put in together has filtered back. And it's now sitting over their back, and eventually the mind says, screw this, like I said, I've had enough. But this is what we've got to do. Bang. It's just like crossing the road. You're not going to analyse every time you cross the road, and so the mind starts to work in the same way. And providing you're trained in that way as a trader, and you're brought forward like that, this is exactly what will happen. Shock moment, sense of knowing, that will come out. And there's nothing esoterical about this. This is how we function as human beings. We trust ourselves to cross the road. It's about building and trusting ourselves in a sense of knowing to do exactly the same process that we're really just hardwired to do. A couple of the things, interesting email coming from John. Had a really cool thing happen today while trading. I came to the charts with data info that I'd been thinking about what the market makers might be up to. I glanced at the GB chart, placed the TFT up, and within less than a millisecond, I knew this market was going down. I hit sell without a thought. And in big letters, he put, I never do this. Okay, so this was completely against what he's known. This is the sense of knowing that kicked in, and it feels alien at first. Now, he actually says, it scared me so that I closed off the trade, but it will be forever be clear to me there is a place and time between rational thinking and creative thinking. A place of time that is sense of knowing. And you can see it was such a shock to him, such a shock to his system, that he didn't know how to handle it, and he shut the trade off. But that happens a lot to traders. When they actually start to use a sense of knowing, it leaves them in awe, it leaves them in shock. They then start to mistrust it. They start to retry and work out and understand it. Look at Stephen, what he did. He asked me questions at the start of this. Okay, I'm doing really well. He said I've had 8 weeks. He said last 7 weeks have been up, 91 pips last week, but there's just a few little bits more. So he'd been using the sense of knowing, but now he was starting to break it down. And that's why I said he was in a very dangerous place. Do not start to break down your sense of knowing. This is what we wanted. This is where we're always going. From day one of the course, it's where we were going. Now, we've got some other questions in here, but I'm going to... I'm not going to read these through now because the show's gone on a bit long, and I wanted to take some live calls, which we can't do today, which is a bit of a shame, but we will get to that. So on the next show, we'll take the live shows, and then I'll go over these emails more. We've also got an interview from Goran. Again, very powerful interview. Not too long, only a short interview, but again, I think it's a bit too long to run this show on today. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. I'll catch up with you on the next show, which will be show 11. We're going to be doing more about sense of knowing. I'm really, really excited about what you guys have achieved so far. And you know, I'm your guide. I'm your guide. I take you down this path, but it's you guys that are doing the work. It's you guys that are getting this momentum going, and it's just magical for me to see, to get this stuff, to hear your stories, to see what's happening, to hear what's happening. It's absolutely thrilling for me, and it makes everything worthwhile. So look, what we're going to do now is we're going to call it a day. And I'll catch up with you real soon on the very next show. Take care.